We have another fun, hilarious, administration-compliant show. What are you doing? Shut up. Blow this for us.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried that we won't keep saying what we want to say or that we'll be censored. But I'm going to cover the president's trip to the UK just like I normally would. Well, guys, President Trump just wrapped up his 3-day trip to the UK, and he
looked incredibly handsome.
I just want to say before we get started here that I've always admired and respected Mr. Trump. I've always believed he was, a visionary, innovator, a great president, an even better golfer.
That is just a taste of what we heard overnight from late night in defense of Jimmy Kimmel after ABC suspended him indefinitely following threats from the White House. Jon Stewart, you just saw him, he came in for a special Thursday night edition of his show and explained the First Amendment.
In America, we have a little something called the First Amendment. And let me tell you how it works. There's something called a talent-o-meter. It's a completely scientific instrument that is kept on the president's desk. And it tells the president when a performer's TQ, talent quotient, measured mostly by niceness to the president, goes below a certain level, at which point the FCC must be notified to threaten the acquisition prospects for billion-dollar mergers of network affiliates. These affiliates are then asked to give ultimatums to the even larger megacorporation that controls the flow of state-approved content, or the FCC can just choose to threaten those licenses directly. It's basic science. Read your Constitution! Read it!
So that's what Jon Stewart had to say about the First Amendment. What are they saying about it on Capitol Hill? CNN's Annie Graer is there this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, John. Well, we are seeing a split screen unfolding on Capitol Hill where Republicans are largely supportive of the decision of ABC to remove Kimmel from the air indefinitely. They say it is a business decision, and they're largely sidestepping any questions about the FCC or Brendan Carr. Now, Democrats, on the other hand, are raising alarm bells here. They say that this is just the beginning of what could be a dangerous road towards censorship. This sets a very dangerous precedent and really infringes on free speech. Take a listen to just a sampling of how lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are talking about this issue.
There's free speech, and if you're going to go out there and speak your piece, fine, but you're accountable to somebody. It's not the government. You're accountable to your people that employ you.
Is the right dabbling in cancel culture?
Not this guy on the right. I mean, I just said he's entitled under the First Amendment to say what he wants. But on the other hand, I applaud the move of Disney as corporate parent to say, we think this is terrible.
It's not a question of whether you agree with Mr. Kimmel or disagree with Mr. Kimmel. The point is one of the government not coming in and making decisions about whose speech gets heard.
So as you see, very different reactions here, and it's really just unfolding a larger conversation on Capitol Hill about free speech and if there are any limits to it. And one thing that Republicans have been pushing for a very long time is being against cancel culture. And that is a question that's coming up again as they support the decision to remove Kimmel from the air. This is something that is going to continue to develop, but it is really remarkable to see such different reactions here. I should point out that Democrats are even trying to investigate this decision, but given that they are in the minority, they do not have the power on committees to really compel any testimony or documents there. But this is something that both Democrats and Republicans have very strong but very different views on.
Different, although I will say there are some conservative outlets or center-right outlets now that are raising questions about the government role in all this. But so far, a lot of the members on Capitol Hill not seeing it the same way. Annie Graer, great to see you. Thank you very much. Kate.
Sticking their neck out once again. President Trump is applauding ABC's decision, as we have seen, to pull Jimmy Kimmel from the air. He's also saying very clearly that he thinks networks should lose their broadcasting licenses simply for criticizing him. Listen to this.
They give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
Joining us right now is Greg Lukianoff. He's the president of FIRE, a free speech advocacy group. And you guys have been very outspoken on this and for years, let's be honest. It's very nice to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Brendan Carr has said you hear that from the president, but Brendan Carr also said yesterday that the ABC move is not the last shoe to drop.
Yeah.
It's very hard to revoke and pull a broadcasting license.
Yeah.
At least it was in the past.
It was.
Where do you think this goes now?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, first of all, I want to say, like, the murder of Charlie Kirk was a savage blow against freedom of speech. But the administration is exploiting that to go after its political enemies in a way that violates the First Amendment consistently. I have seen them adopt practically every argument they criticize on the left, whether it's hate speech or misinformation, as a rationale for censorship. Brendan Carr himself criticized.
There's a lot of tweets for Brendan Carr that are not aging well for him.
Yeah, exactly, where he said precisely the same thing, and they're turning those into weapons for their own use.
You heard President Trump say that networks should lose their licenses for criticizing him.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Charlie Kirk because, interestingly enough, Charlie Kirk had something to say about this very issue in the past. And I looked back. He was on social media reacting to when South Park made fun of him, kind of lampooned him in an episode. He said this: "We need to have a good spirit about being made fun of. This is a success. This is all a win. We as conservatives, we have thick skin, not thin skin. You can make fun of us. It matter." I mean, that is a true statement and should be for anyone in public life.
Yeah.
But then you hold that up against the threat, this new threat coming from the president. I just wonder what it leads to.
Yeah. Well, I think they've been pretty transparent, and that's one of the reasons why the whole conservative attempt to be like, oh, this was just a business decision by ABC. The government played no role. And it's like, Trump actually said Jimmy Kimmel is next, months ago, and he repeated this. So what can we expect? We can expect him to go after the other late night hosts.
Brian Stelter brought it up today that if they're going to run up against the law and the Constitution, what they could be trying to do, though, is lead to self-censorship.
Yes.
And do you see that happening?
Oh, yeah, no, that's been a lot of the playbook. I mean, so far, the Trump administration, its approach has been to go after centers of sort of like liberal power. And so they've gone after universities, they've gone after the media, they've gone after journalism. And but unfortunately, a lot of these corporations have been caving in the face of it. And by the way, one of the only people who hasn't caved is Ann Selzer, who were defending it against a personal lawsuit by Trump.
The very well-known pollster out of Iowa.
Yeah, and she, what they're going after her for is allegedly it was a violation of consumer protection law that she got a poll wrong about because it didn't favor Trump.
I was looking through your bio. You're also the executive producer of a documentary about really getting at this very thing.
Yes.
The chilling effect that kind of outrage culture and cancel culture can have on comedy. The documentary is called Can We Take a Joke? It came out almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how you answer that question today. Can we take a joke?
Well, the answer was back then kind of no, and it's definitely no at the moment.
Just finally, when you look at what's happened, just the ABC News Disney example of what we've seen, from your perspective, who do you think delivered a bigger blow to free speech and expression? The threats leveled by the FCC and the Trump administration and the president, or the actions by Disney and ABC as a network in bending to those threats?
I would say yes. I'd say that both of them are to blame. And I think that corporations need to stand up for freedom of speech, even if it's against their financial interests.
It's great to see you, Greg. Thank you very much for speaking out. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.